Hello class, welcome to another thrilling week here at Beetle University. I of course am Professor Moptop. Nice to have you here as always. This week we're going to be talking about a George song, which always seems to make people smile. There's certainly something special about George. He's got quite a few gems throughout the catalog. On the Let It Be album, he had two albums ultimately. The song we're going to talk about this week is For You Blue. Now, after the White Album was all done and they finished recording it, George hung out with Bob Dylan and the band. And Bob was extremely encouraging to George. He really gave him a boost to his ego and his confidence, telling him that his songwriting had gotten so much better that he was now right at the level of John and Paul. This was really good for George. This was good for his spirit. Well, he went into the January 1969 sessions with a real positive attitude. Sadly, this did not last very long, as we know about the Let It Be sessions. The band, as well as Bob Dylan, were going in a much simpler direction. Not a whole lot of overdubs and overproduction. And this is very likely why the Beatles also wanted to go in an even simpler, more stripped-down direction than they had already done with the White Album. All the Beatles had a slight interest in the blues, not huge the way they were into Buddy Holly or Chuck Berry or the Everly Brothers, but they always kind of dug American blues music. The Rolling Stones and the Animals and bands like that had started really accepting the blues music into their repertoire and recording versions of American blues songs, and were having success with it. And there was a bit of a British blues boom in England. Eric Clapton and the Yardbirds, of course. Clapton then went on to Cream. These were all part of that. Well, the Beatles always had to be a little bit a part of it, so George wanted to write a bluesy type song, and he wrote For You Blues. Notice the S at the end of For You Blue. He wanted to write a blues song that wasn't sad and desperate, but happy and joyous. So he wrote this Because You're Sweet and Lovely Girl, I Love You. Now, there is a very strong possibility that during the Let It Be sessions, the song that George would present to the Beatles to say, hey, we should put this on the record, weren't necessarily what he considered his best stuff at the time. He was still kind of holding back things for his undetermined solo LP, which of course would wind up being All Things Must Pass. His happy-sounding blues song popped up a few times throughout the Let It Be sessions, and you'll get to hear Professor Moptop talking about the blues influence that Canned Heat had on the Beatles in the audio that I will be sending you. Eventually, they would try to record the song, and it was now called Because You're Sweet and Lovely. This was on January 25th. Near the end of the sessions, things were starting to look a little bit brighter. They had started to make a little bit of progress. Billy Preston had joined the fold. They had went back to Apple Records Studio, where they considered home, and it was a reasonably good recording for the band. Now, on the track, Paul plays the piano, because Billy Preston wasn't present at the time. George plays his guitar, Ringo plays the drum, John plays the slide guitar. What is interesting about For You Blue is that it has no bass. There's only a small handful of Beatles songs that has no bass. John loved playing the slide guitar. He didn't know much about it, but he learned pretty quick. Now, when George recorded the vocal track, it would wound up getting redone in early 1970. And on it, as George is cheering on the guitar solo, he says to John, "Go, Johnny, go." He also says that he compares him to Elmore James, who is a popular slide blues guitarist. It came out on the Let It Be album. It was, as always, one of those George songs that everyone seemed to love. There's not a lot of hatred towards any George songs at all throughout the Beatle careers. You are going to be getting 3 separate hunks of audio with some real fine detailed all about For You Blue, For You Blues, and Because You're Sweet and Lovely. Thank you, as always, for being part of the Professor Moptop Beetle University family. Thanks so much. Have a pleasant one.